Hi everyone, I'm Michael Manrique and I'm one of the Habit Guys. We teach realtors prospecting habits so they finally become top producing agents. And welcome to the Realtor Habits Podcast, where agents don't need more stuff, they need better habits. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know this episode is brought to you by our Habit Guys Facebook group. We all want to prospect consistently and be more organized. Well, to do that, you need to think, do, and act like a top producer. Watch us prospect live and teach you every week for free in our Facebook group how to get more expired listings, FSBOs listings, how to talk to your sphere, learn how to get over your fear of making calls by not sounding salesy and instead learning how to come from a place of servitude and making friends. All you have to do is visit us at www.habitguys.com/Facebook and learn all the skills top producers use in their day-to-day business. If you know anyone that can gain value from this podcast, please do us the hugest of favors and share it with them. We're here to help as many realtors as possible, and we appreciate your help to do so. All right, let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is called New Year's Resolutions Check-In. That's right, it's March, and I came across an article. The header says, Discover Happy Habits, and it's been tracking success and failure statistics for New Year's resolutions in general. And a statistic they have here is, on average, only 9 to 12% of people keep their New Year's resolutions. So today I wanted to talk about the reasons behind why people fail to maintain their New Year's resolutions, right? And I'm going to tailor this obviously to the real estate agent specifically, but also to give some context as to how to overcome those failures. So looking at this website here, the first failure they mention is in one study, 35% of the participants who failed their New Year's resolutions said they had unrealistic goals. So let's walk through that real quick. So if you are dealing with unrealistic goals, that means that you're probably not achieving the goals, right? So either the goals are too far out or they're just unachievable in the here and now. So it could be a daily goal and you're just not accomplishing that, right? Maybe you're trying, maybe the goal again is just unrealistic. So what does that mean to us when we don't accomplish a goal we set to do? Well, what we're doing by setting a goal is we're setting an expectation. And when we don't meet that expectation, right? Generally, if we want something and we don't feel and we don't achieve it, well, we generally don't feel good about not reaching that goal, right? And if that is happening again and again, so right, New Year's resolutions typically start in January, and now it's March, and most, as I read, most resolutions are actually beginning to teeter off around the February-March time. The reason behind that is because their actions towards that goal are ultimately not reinforcing a feeling of progress, right? And if you don't feel a sense of progress in what you're doing, what we know through behavioral science is that you are just not going to do it again. Dopamine is not going to be released. That's the neurochemical responsible for motivation, focus, and drive. And ultimately, you are not going to move forward and follow the steps or the actions necessary for you to reach that goal, or to be more specifically, attempt to reach that unrealistic goal. So yes, setting unrealistic goals is very important. So what do we do about this? So, or is a very important to note as a reason for why maybe you aren't being consistent with your New Year's resolution. That could be just to making calls, could be just to door knocking in your area. You know, whatever your New Year's resolution was, maybe it was a different prospecting method that you wanted to leverage or social media, whatever it was. Okay, so the unrealistic goal. So then what do we do about it? So the first thing that we need to do is anytime we set a goal, what we want to do is have a weekly check-in, ideally, right? And we want to see the progress that we made. We want to review the previous week And we want to see, what did we accomplish? Now, based on what we accomplished the previous week, then we should take into consideration what our goals should be moving forward, right? So ideally, we want to put ourselves in a trajectory to accomplish our goals. But if we're not even walking down the right street or the right path to accomplish our goal, because we're just feeling overwhelmed, or we're feeling distracted, or we're feeling paralyzed by the anxiety that we're feeling towards trying to accomplish, the prospecting goal or the new action plan that we set as a New Year's resolution. What ideally we need to do is we need to revisit that goal and then make it more attainable, right? Make it more realistic. A good baseline that research has shown is to look at whatever you're currently doing, right? So again, reflecting back on the previous week and then multiplying. Now, what's really important is you want to have ideally one metric to track, okay? And we'll probably get into that in just a moment. So whatever that metric is, right? Could be just calls. What you want to do then is you want to multiply whatever you did times 15%, and then that'll be the goal for your upcoming week. And then every week, you're going to just be checking in and seeing if you're meeting that goal the majority of the time, and then you're going to increase the goal week after week after week. And that's how you begin to feel good about what you're doing, because you start providing evidence to yourself that you can do this, that you can follow this list of steps, you can be that type of real estate agent you want to be. All right, the second reason for failure that they mention here in this article is 33% of participants who failed didn't keep track of their progress. And in fact, the research backs this up as well. The two pillars to goal setting, or more importantly, goal achievement, is number one, having something that's measurable, right? So that metric we were just talking about, right? Can you measure that metric? That's why I love calls, because making outbound calls is completely within our control, right? Door knocking is something that's completely within our control. If you set a goal such as contacts, guess what? It requires someone else to pick up the phone, right? And we can't rely on that time and time again. In fact, we're putting our confidence, our ability to feel good about this process on something outside of ourselves. Do you see that? We're anchoring our ability to feel good or feel a sense of progress based on what someone else does, an outcome, right? Ultimately, if you're always driven by things outside of yourself, then you're generally going to come across a time where you're going to have a dip in how you feel and your motivation, because those other actions, again, are just not consistent. You can't rely on them, not like relying on yourself. So ultimately, what's really important here is to have something that's measurable. And then again, that measurable metric needs to also be specific. And I was just talking about this just a moment ago. We don't want to track 5 or even 3 different metrics. Is ideally just one, right? If you're finding yourself not starting it, again, I'm speaking to a specific group of real estate agents here, right? Those are the ones that set a specific goal to accomplish this year. It's a New Year resolution, right? New Year's resolution. So if you're not accomplishing your goal because we talked about the unrealistic goal, right? But for most of you, you're not even starting it, okay? I'm speaking to you right now. If you're not starting it, it's because you are complicating the process. Instead, what we want is a specific metric, and we need to measure it, right? And the cadence is you would measure it daily, right? If your focus is making calls, right, to a specific prospecting type, like your Sphere or FSBOs or Expireds or Furbos, what you want to do is you want to track the amount of calls that you're making, and you want to track it daily. And every week, you're going to reflect back and see how you are progressing, okay? This is going to be the process, because at the end of the day, this is going to be the process to helping you feel that sense of progress that sense of reward, which is ultimately what's going to bring you back to continue to do this again and again and again. Okay. So now we set realistic goals. We know what we're tracking of, right? The third reason for failure is 23% forgot about their resolution. Okay, so what does this mean exactly? Well, for a lot of us, we write things down, but we don't make it a routine to revisit, right? Instead, what happens with a lot of us is that we're very reactionary. So we wake up and wherever our environment tells us to go, for a lot of us, it's gonna be your smartphone, your iPhone, your Android, it's gonna be the TV, it's gonna be your emails, it's gonna be text messages, it's gonna be Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. That's what's happening. You're being pulled in a direction that's not aligned with who you wanna be, right? A top producing agent, or what you need to do to be a top producing agent. So ultimately, coming back to this reason, right? Forgetting about the resolutions, what you need to have is a consistent routine, okay? So for those of you that don't have a consistent routine, your routine generally starts from the moment you wake up. So you wanna have a strong, consistent morning routine that works for you in the direction that you wanna go in, accomplish the goals that you wanna accomplish, become the type of real estate agent you wanna become. You need a strong morning and consistent morning routine. To get and create your morning routine, you could go and get it for absolutely free. We actually teach this strictly for real estate agents. So go to habitguys.com/free. Again, that's habitguys.com/free. And go ahead and you'll see our scripts, other resources, and in there you'll see our morning routine guide for you to build. So you can not forget about your resolutions and you could follow it and make sure to touch on it consistently. All right, last reason for failure. It states here is that about 1 in 10 people who failed said they made too many resolutions. Now this is very common, right? We try to put everything on our plate at one time and we're just not able to do it all, okay? And so the answer to this problem, if you're experiencing something similar to this, is getting back to the basics, right? One of the things that's really interesting, if you really look at just about any profession or any goal you want to accomplish, right? What you'll find is that there's one action that if you repeat over and over and over again, essentially it leads to all these other outcomes occurring, right? So the example I love to talk about is making calls. Essentially, the calls is the infancy stage to allow everything to happen for you to close deals and eventually close deals on a continuous basis, right? So the call allows you to connect with someone. When you connect with someone, you're able to find out an opportunity to help buy, sell, or even lease in real estate. Then you're able to meet with them, right? When you meet with them, then you're able to get a contract. Once you get the contract, you eventually would close if everything goes according to plan. And that all starts with the call. And this is very important. So, this has been called a keystone habit, right? So this is like the one action that you want to track. We were just talking about this, tracking for a week. You want to do this daily because if you just focus on calls, it's going to always lead to the connection. Got to understand that the calls lead to the connection. Now, if you're realizing that you're making a lot of calls, what is a lot of calls, right? This is a great question I get often. So if you're making 230 calls and no one picks up the phone, and that happens more than 2 days in a row, then guess what? You got to revisit what you're doing. You need to talk to somebody. And actually, I would encourage you to talk to us. So in fact, we're taking on coaching students right now. So if you're interested in a free coaching consultation to understand what's bogging you down, understanding what you need to do to turn around your business, to accomplish your New Year's resolutions and more, go to habitguys.com/call. Again, that's habitguys.com/CALL. All right, so there you have it. So we talked about the 4 reasons for why most real estate agents are failing their New Year's resolutions. We talked about what to do about them going forward, and we gave you the solutions to help you. In closing, here is the missing piece to your business. It's accepting that when you know better, you do not necessarily do better. You do better when you change your habits. Let us help.